Hi, everyone. How are you? I hope you're having a good post-Easter season. I think I might have mentioned this last time. I just love the readings this time of year, the post-resurrection readings and Acts of the Apostles and how this all came to be after Jesus rose from the dead. So great models for us to look at as far as church is concerned and, introducing the children into the Acts of the Apostles in addition to the Gospels has really been interesting. I wasn't here last week, as you know. I was doing some presentations, which were very meaningful, catechetical presentations, and great to be with great people, because if you're working in this ministry, you are a great person. So it's always good to be surrounded by those kinds of people. So if any of you are listening to this, I say hello and thank you for your hospitality. And it was nice to be with you. What we did yesterday, what I did with the children, I reviewed last week's gospel. Well, actually, it was Sunday's gospel, the Road to Emmaus story. I think that honestly is my favorite gospel. We reviewed it because I wasn't here. We didn't have a lesson last Monday. And I love it because it's the story of a journey, but it's also one of the greatest catechetical models. If you pay attention to how Jesus helps this couple, we're not sure who they are. They're called disciples. We know one's name. We don't know if that's another male with him, or is it a female? Are they a married couple? We don't know who they are. But they take this journey, and you know the story. But this is my favorite. And listening to Jesus and how he helps them to think for themselves. He kind of guides the conversation, asking really probing questions so they can figure this out for themselves. He's not indoctrinating them. He's just saying, let me listen to you. And I can't help but think of this with the synod that Pope Francis has begun. It's all about listening. And I think in this gospel passage, we see Jesus really listening and working from what he's hearing, not just hearing, but listening, and kind of feeds it back to these two disciples so that they can figure out. And then finally, they recognize him in the breaking of the bread. That's such a great process, an educational process. We're there to help people transform, not just to learn and be indoctrinated, but to really transform and become more aware, more enlightened, so that we do recognize him in the breaking of the bread. And it takes a process to do that. And Jesus is the master teacher, and he shows us, and I just love that gospel. So I just think it's just to think of what they were thinking and trying to explain what they had just seen, and their hearts were burning. And I think those of us who are lucky enough or to be part of this and been invited to be a part of this ministry, we want the hearts to burn of all of us, those we teach, or those, I'm not sure. Not even a question of teaching. It's a question of walking with someone, journeying with someone. That is the model. And I love this gospel, but I love the idea of journey. Especially when you're a catechist or you're the catechetical ministry, we're sometimes so concerned with having to get all that information out, like so many weeks of information. But I think we need to do a change on that. As I said during these presentations I did, no longer call them students, call them disciples, because that's what they are. They've been baptized. So that's where we are, and we kind of hold each other's hands. We're all on this journey. It hasn't ended for any of us, and we need the accompaniment not only of Jesus but of each other. And I think this gospel passage so tells us that. So again, I hope you enjoy that gospel as much as I did. What I did with the children yesterday, because now we're into the theme, was the gospel was on the Good Shepherd. And I'm kind of sorry. I wish I had brought them something, but I was so busy. I had a wedding this weekend and all that. But I wish, in hindsight, I wish I had brought them something like a little lamb, or they're older, but something to do with significance or statue, maybe, of the Good Shepherd. But I might do something next week. It's our last formal lesson. So maybe I will think in giving them something other than a certificate as well, something they can remember this year by. So for our opening prayer, we did Psalm 23. because for them, that was the cover of their lesson. And we talked about the Psalms, and everything is a teachable moment or remembering moment. Like, who wrote the Psalms again? Who do we think wrote the Psalms? Oh, David. So you're trying to reinforce what they've learned and to remember it and hold on to it, just because they should know stuff. It's not just a question of, certainly first is the relationship with God, relationship with Christ. It's all about learning facts. You need that too. So we talked about that. We talked about the environment. We talked about green, whatever the story was. And then we got into the gospel, and we talked about Jesus there protecting. When do they feel they need Jesus the most? And like Jesus, that whole idea of Jesus taking care of us. And I think that sits well for every generation, for the children, certainly, younger children, their 11-year-old children. High school kids might kind of struggle with that a little bit, but I think in the back of their mind, if they were going to admit it, it's a very comforting thought. And I sat there as the adult yesterday and really with them, what are my fears at this stage in my life? What am I, that I need to lean on the good shepherd, and just to be reminded that the shepherd is always taking care of us and loves us, and knows us all by name. And that's for me a very comforting theme. So we did that. We saw a little video, and then at the end of the day, our closing song was the song "Like a Shepherd, He Feeds His Flock," and I found a video with it. And I said, you'll probably hear it in church. It's kind of one that they might hear in church as well. And they said they didn't think so, but they saw it. And I always show a song with lyrics so they can follow the lyrics. And I just love that song, Like a Shepherd. That one, and I love Shepherd Me, Oh God. That's a psalm as well. I just find those two shepherd songs very comforting. So we did that. And then we had some time. I don't know why we had time. I don't know what happened, but it kind of took it and said, okay, let's have a conversation. So I asked them about next year, do you have any changes you want to make? And no, I told them their cousin who lives in Rhode Island, who's maybe 2 years younger than it, would love to be a part of this. And they go, we'd like to, Grandma, but maybe not every time. Maybe for the summer you might want to do it because he is younger. And it's okay, but we have to share the good news. And they got it. So I understand, maybe not every time, certainly, but he's already involved in a catechetical program. This would just be a supplement. Or maybe this would be the one, maybe the other one would be the supplement. Depends on how quality of it goes. So I did ask them, I said, what was your favorite gospel passage for the year? And Justin said, I was kind of surprised. He said he loved when Mary and Elizabeth met, the visitation. And I said, why? He said, because it was so exciting. You knew Jesus was going to be born, and these women were such good friends. And I love the fact that Zechariah couldn't talk, just the thing in the minds of these children, and that he could talk once John the Baptist was born. It's funny how they perceive things and think things. So I thought that was sweet. And then I asked Sage, I said to her, what was yours? And she said, Jesus at the well with the woman. And I said, what did you like about that? And she said, I like the fact that Jesus really paid attention to her. These are in her words. And that she was changed because of it. Well, isn't that what we're all about? Isn't that what we are all trying to do? Get to know Jesus more and more so that we also are transformed as the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman at the well. So that had a lot of meaning for both of them. And I liked sharing that. I then said to them, well, next week is our last formal lesson. I would like you to do it. I want you to pick things out, whatever, you're going to teach me next week. So that should be interesting. Of course, I'll come prepared too, as well. And I want them to do the last assessment, the one, for Unit 4, and see how they really enjoy doing that. And I'm glad to have that tool. It's good for me as well to kind of make sure they get covered, the material gets covered. So they are happy with the way things are. They don't want to change anything. I told them I'm going to expect more from them next year. They'll be older. I expect them to take more responsibility for the lessons. I'm there to teach them, but we can have discussions, and that's where they're coming from. come to the conclusion, every age, everyone needs these discussions, these kinds of discussions. And I'll just share with you, I was at a wedding this weekend and I was at the rehearsal dinner. And at the rehearsal dinner at the table I was at was a married couple. They're young and I know them for many years. Lovely, lovely people, very involved in the church. Lovely. To the left of me was the wedding planner and her husband. I don't know how the conversation got started, but we ended up talking about God and the church and spirit. And it was such a wonderful discourse to really listen to what people are talking about. And they're like maybe their late 30s, early 40s, and listening to them. Where are they with the church? What works for them? What doesn't? Bottom line, nothing was really resolved, I don't think, because we didn't resolve. We just listened. And that whole process of listening to one another, what they had to share, obviously was very meaningful to them. And every time I would see her the next day after, right before the wedding, and she kept saying, thank you so much for that. It was so what, you have no idea. And I said, what was so great about it? And she said, the fact we felt safe, no one was going to judge us. We could tell you exactly how we felt, and we didn't feel anything was right or wrong. We just could be ourselves. Well, isn't that where God is? And to honor the God who dwells within her and her husband and all of us, to really, again, to listen. That whole idea of listening is so key. So if that's how we're going to evangelize and that's how we're going to do it, that's the way we do it. Sitting at a table at a wedding rehearsal. I mean, who would have thunk it? But it was great. And I think she took down my information. I think she's going to want to talk to me. Wonderful. And they have a little girl and they're concerned about her and her religious education. So we'll have things to talk about. And that's what we need to do. I think being in part, especially the part of the church today, needs a lot of reinforcement in terms of relationships. I think that's part of where we are today among the other places, but this is what I'm observing. So we're there not only for the little ones, the little ones, but also for the older ones. And I keep thinking of this theme, the shepherd, for little children. For those of you teaching younger children, that's so easy. They love little lambs. And I remember years ago in our religious ed program, they put up little lambs on on the walls in the narthex of the church. It was so cute. So for the little ones, it's again, that's the easy stuff as they get older. But how does someone, as I said, our age, my age, their age, this wedding planner and her, I should keep calling her the wedding planner, I'm not even naming her name, but how does that, who was the good shepherd for them? And I think that's something we need to take into account. So it was yesterday was a fun day. They were tired. They'd taken state exams. I mean, oh my God. So they were tired, but they're fine and they like it. And I could feel even my own relationship with them getting stronger and stronger. I mean, it's true with the others, but there's something about having these discussions about God and church that certainly brings us together. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. So I wish you a good week. I will see you next week, and I'll have more to discuss with you next week about in terms of the summer and what the plan will be for that. All right. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.